I want you to close your eyes and picture yourself standing on the ramparts of a city under siege. But not just any city. You are in Carthage, or maybe Veii. The Roman legions are outside. You can see their fires. You can hear the sharpening of iron. And that's terrifying enough. But then you see a priest step out from the Roman ranks. He walks right up to the edge of shouting distance. He faces your walls, and he starts to chant. And the fear that grips you then isn't about dying. It's about being emptied out.
Because he's not threatening you. He's talking to your gods.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is the thing that really stopped me in my tracks when we started looking into this. We tend to think of ancient warfare as, spears and shields, but the Romans had a weapon that was metaphysical espionage. They called it evocatio.
Evocatio, literally the summoning away. It's a terrifying concept if you actually believe in the efficacy of these rituals.
Which they absolutely did.
Oh, 100%. The Roman premise was that a city could not be taken, not truly, as long as its gods were still residing comfortably inside the temples.
They were like a spiritual shield generator.
A perfect analogy. So before they sent in the battering rams, they had to convince the enemy gods to defect. They had to get them to switch sides.
It's a divine bribe. It's basically, hey, come over to Rome. We have bigger temples.
We have better sacrifices.
We treat our gods with actual law and order. It's a better deal for you.
And historically, the Romans believed this worked. They attributed their victories not just to better swordsmanship, but to the fact that they had successfully poached the spiritual protection of their enemies.
But this created a massive paranoia back home. I mean, it must have.
Oh, absolutely. If Rome could do it to Carthage, someone could do it to Rome. What's to stop an enemy priest from standing on a hill overlooking the Tiber and doing the exact same ritual?
Which brings us to the secret name. This sounds like something out of a fantasy novel, but the sources insist this was a matter of national security.
It was the highest state secret, the ultimate failsafe. Rome had 3 names. The common name everyone knew, Roma. A sacerdotal or priestly name used in rituals, Flora, which is beautiful.
Flora, right.
And then a third secret name. This name was known only to the highest priesthood. The logic was cold and hard. If an enemy priest doesn't know the true name of the city's tutelary deity, they can't dial the number.
We can't make the connection.
They can't perform the evocatio. It's like trying to hack a computer without the password.
It's a metaphysical firewall.
Precisely. And if you revealed that name, the penalty was death, no trial, no appeal.
Because you had just lowered the shields for the entire empire. You've given away the master key.
You've given away the soul of the city.
This sets the stage perfectly for what we're doing today. We are doing a deep dive into Roman mythology.
Right.
But I think we need to throw out the Percy Jackson version where it's just fun stories about monsters.
Right.
We are looking at the architecture of imperial divinity.
That's the right framing, because Roman myth is not a collection of fairy tales. It's a machine. It is a legalistic technology designed to keep the world running.
And I think the biggest hurdle for us, and for anyone listening who loves mythology, is unlearning the idea that Rome is just Greece 2.0.
Yes.
I'll admit, I've always been guilty of this. You see Jupiter, you think Zeus. You see Mars, you think Ares. It feels like a search and replace job.
It does, and that is the most common misconception. It does a huge disservice to the Roman mind. The Greeks. Look, the Greek myths are about individual heroism, tragedy, chaos, passion. They are beautiful messes.
I like that. Beautiful messes.
But the Roman tradition, it's about numen divine will and pietas, which is a word that's so hard to translate.
It's not piety.
No, it's duty. Duty to family, a duty to the state, and duty to the gods. The Roman gods aren't characters in a soap opera. They are partners in a contract.
A contract. That's the key word.
The pax deorum. The peace of the gods. The entire Roman state was built on the idea that they had a valid, signed, and stamped contract with the divine. It was a business relationship.
So as long as Rome fulfilled its side of the bargain,
The rituals, the sacrifices, the order,
then the gods were legally bound to protect the state.
legally and theologically bound. It's a brilliant system for organizing a society.
So today, we're going to walk through that contract.
Yeah.
We're going to look at the origins, the hierarchy, the strange rituals, and the end times.
Mhm.
And I want to start where the Romans started. Not on Mount Olympus, but in the mud of Italy, the matrix of origins.
Right. Rome is a synthesis. It's a mashup. It didn't spring fully formed from the head of a god. It was built on layers. And the deepest layer is the Italic or Villanovan layer.
This is prehistory almost.
This is before the marble statues. This is the world of animism.
This is the concept of numen you mentioned. In the notes, it describes Newman not as a god in the sense of a guy with a beard, but as a force.
Think of it like electricity or gravity. In the early Roman mind, the world wasn't populated by human-like gods. It was populated by forces. A numen is a nod of the head, an expression of will. So, there was a numen in the river, a numen in the lightning, but also in actions.
This is the part that gets so psychological for me, functional animism. The sources say there were spirits for opening a door, closing a door, crossing a threshold.
The threshold is a great example. To us, walking through a door is nothing. It's a mundane act.
You don't even think about it.
But to an early Roman, the threshold, the limen, was a dangerous boundary between the in and the out, the domestic and the wild. And if you tripped,
It wasn't just clumsy.
you had insulted Lamentinus, the spirit of the threshold. You had disrupted the harmony of the house. You might have brought bad luck in with you.
That sounds exhausting. Living in a world where every single action, no matter how small, is being watched by a specific invisible force.
It creates a mindset of hyper-awareness. You are constantly negotiating your space in the world. But then, on top of this fluid, almost chaotic animism, you get the second layer, the Etruscans.
The neighbors to the north, and they brought the structure, the bureaucracy.
The Etruscans are fascinating and terrifying. They practiced imminent polytheism and the disciplina Etrusca. To the Etruscans, religion wasn't about feelings or faith. It was about science.
Divine science.
Their science, yes. They believed the gods had revealed a set of unchanging rules, a physics of the divine. And if you knew the rules, you could read the future.
This is where we get the liver reading, right? Augury and looking at entrails.
Yes, but let's treat it with the weight they did. When an Etruscan priest, a haruspice, looked at a sheep's liver, he wasn't just poking at meat. He believed the liver was a microcosm of the universe. A map.
The templum.
Exactly, the templum. Every bump, every discoloration corresponded to a sector of the sky and a specific deity. It was data analysis.
So if there's a blemish on the Mars sector of the liver, that's not a bad omen because the priest feels spooky.
Not at all.
It's a bad omen because the data says so. It's objective truth.
Exactly. It was objective. There was no arguing with it. And Rome absorbed this completely. They took that loose, spooky animism of the Italians and poured it into the rigid bureaucratic structure of the Etruscan.
And that merger created the Roman state religion.
Pragmatic, cold, and absolutely obsessed with procedure. Get the ritual wrong, even by one word, and the whole thing is invalid. You have to start again.
Which leads us to their creation myth, or the lack thereof. Because compared to the Greeks, who have the theogony chaos, Gaia, the Titans, the castration of Uranus, the Romans seem surprisingly quiet about how the universe started.
It's a telling silence, isn't it? For a Roman, the creation of the cosmos was secondary. It was background noise. It just wasn't important to their identity.
So what was?
The only creation event that mattered, the only Big Bang worth recording, was the founding of the city.
The city is the world.
Essentially, the cosmos is just a theater for Rome to act in. Now, later on, poets like Ovid in the Metamorphoses tried to fill in the gaps. He writes about a god and a better nature, sorting out the chaos, separating earth from sky.
And that's much later. That's Augustine Rome.
Very late. He uses this beautiful Stoic imagery of fire ascending to the heavens because of its weightlessness. But that's high philosophy for the elites, for the people. The story starts with the twins.
Romulus and Remus, sons of Mars, suckled by the she-wolf. We've all seen the statue. But I want to dig into the fratricide, because usually when you have a story about brothers killing each other, it's a tragedy. It's Cain and Abel. It's a primordial mistake.
But in Rome, it's a necessity. It's a foundational act. That's the dark heart of the Roman psyche. Let's look at the scene. Romulus is building a wall. He's plowing a furrow to mark the sacred boundary, the pomerium.
And this isn't just a physical wall.
No, it's a religious boundary. It separates the city, the urbs, from the territory, the ager, and Remus mocks it. He jumps over it.
A childish act, really.
Maybe, but in that one act, he violates the sanctity of the new city, and Romulus strikes him down.
And his line is legendary. So perish all who cross my walls.
Think about what that teaches a Roman child. For generations, it teaches them that the state is more important than the family, the wall is more sacred than the brother. If your own blood threatens the integrity of Rome's boundary, you cut them down.
It's not a sin. It's an act of consecration.
It is the consecration. The city is founded on the blood of a brother who put himself before the state.
It sets the tone for everything that follows. And then you have the Aeneas connection, Virgil's Aeneid, linking Rome to Troy.
That was the masterstroke of political propaganda. commissioned by Augustus himself.
Right, this wasn't an ancient folk tale. This was a deliberate construction.
It was a way to legitimize Roman power on a cosmic scale. By claiming descent from Aeneas, a Trojan prince and the son of Venus Rome, wasn't just a bunch of Italian farmers who got good at fighting. They were an ancient destiny. They were the rightful heirs to a fallen civilization.
It reframed their entire empire. They weren't conquering the world.
They were organizing it according to a cosmic blueprint. It was their manifest destiny.
We're not invaders, we're the cleaning crew.
Exactly. You're welcome for the order we're bringing. We're putting the world to rights.
So we have the origin. Now we need to look at the management, the divine hierarchy. You mentioned earlier that this was a legalistic machine. How was the flowchart organized?
It mirrored the Roman military and political system almost perfectly. It was a hierarchy, a pyramid of power.
With a board of directors at the top.
Precisely. At the very top, you had the Dii Consentus, the Council of 12. These are the major shareholders.
Jupiter, Juno, Minerva, Mars, and so on. The ones we know.
Right. The Olympian equivalents, more or less. And they were often paired up. Rome liked gender balance in their theology because they believed in reproductive power and cosmic equilibrium.
So it's not just a boys' club.
Not at all. At the Lectisternian festivals, they would set up couches, lecti, for the gods and put their statues on them, male and female pairs, to symbolically eat the meal with the people. It was about community with the divine.
But the leadership, the executive board, it shifted over time. This surprised me. I assumed Jupiter was always the unquestioned CEO.
He was always at the top, but his partners changed depending on the needs of the state. It was very pragmatic. In the very early archaic days, you had the archaic triad, Jupiter, Mars, and Quirinus.
Quirinus being the deified Romulus, founder.
Yes. So look at that triumvirate. You have the Sky Father, the ultimate authority, that's Jupiter. You have the war god, Mars. And you have the deified founder, Quirinus, who represents the people themselves.
That is a religion for a warrior camp.
It's about survival, fighting, and the tribe. That's all you need when you're a small settlement fighting your neighbors. But as Rome became a massive city-state, a metropolis, the needs changed.
So they reshuffled the cabinet.
Enter the Capitoline Triad. This is the famous one. Jupiter, Juno, and Minerva.
So Mars and Quirinus are out, and Juno and Minerva are in.
Right. And think about what that represents. You still have Jupiter, the king, but now you have Juno, his wife, the goddess of marriage and family, the matron, and you have Minerva, the goddess of wisdom, crafts, and strategy.
So it's a triad for a civilization, not just a war band.
Exactly. It represents the state, the family, and the arts and industry. It's a much more complex and stable model of society.
And the common people, the plebeians. Did they have their own representation in this divine government?
They absolutely did. Rome was class conscious to its bones. So on the Aventine Hill, the working class neighborhood, you had the plebeian triad.
Not on the Capitoline Hill with the fancy gods.
No, this was their turf. And their gods were Ceres, the goddess of grain.
So food.
Liber, the god of wine and freedom.
Drink and liberty.
And his consort, Libera. These were the gods of the belly and the harvest. They were earthy, vital. It was almost a political counterweight to the aristocratic gods on the Capitol.
But beneath these big figures, these triads, we go back to that numinous atomism. The sheer density of minor gods is overwhelming. I was reading the list and it sounds like a joke, but it's not.
It is not a joke. It is religious atomism. They broke reality down into its smallest constituent parts and assigned a deity to each. It's a way of making sure every single aspect of life is under divine supervision.
Abiona and Adiuna.
The gods of a child's journey. Abiona protects the child only in the act of leaving the house, the moment they step out.
And Adiuna protects the child only in the act of returning.
That's her entire portfolio.
So if the kid is just playing in the yard, neither of them cares. They're off the clock.
Correct. You enter the jurisdiction of a different spirit. Or take Cloacina.
The goddess of the sewer.
Well, goddess of the main drain, the Cloaca Maxima. And this wasn't an insult, you have to understand. The sewage system was a miracle of engineering. It was what kept the city from dying of plague, so of course it had a goddess.
Of course she needed respect.
This atomism meant that there was no secular life. You couldn't wash your hands, bake bread, or walk down the street without technically entering into a contract with a divine specialist. The world was saturated with divinity.
It makes the world feel incredibly crowded and, I suppose, controlled. Let's talk about the personalities at the top, though. The major gods. We've established they aren't just Greek clones. Let's look at Jupiter. Jupiter Optimus Maximus.
Jupiter, the best and greatest. And if Zeus is a a philandering, emotional king who sleeps around and throws tantrums.
A drama king?
Jupiter is a judge. He is the juridical center of the universe. His primary role isn't weather, it's oaths.
Why are oaths so central?
Because in a world without DNA evidence, without surveillance cameras, and without a massive police force, civilization is held together by one thing: a man's word.
A handshake. A promise.
If oaths don't matter, contracts collapse. If contracts collapse, society collapses. Jupiter was the guarantor that if you broke your word, the universe would punish you. He was the divine enforcer of all contracts.
And the generals.
Yeah.
They essentially cosplayed as him. This is fascinating.
It is. During a triumph, the biggest parade in Rome, the ultimate honor, the victorious general would paint his face red with cinnabar to match the terracotta statue of Jupiter on the Capitoline Hill. He would wear Jupiter's clothes.
So for one day, he was a living god.
For that one day, the general was the god. It was a visual statement that the victory wasn't his alone. It was the state's divinity acting through him. It was a way to diffuse that dangerous individual glory.
Then we have Mars. And this is the one that really highlights the difference from Greece. The Greeks hated Ares. He was a butcher.
Ares was a maniac. He was the god of bloodlust, the frantic, messy, chaotic part of war that everyone feared. He had no discipline.
But Roman Mars.
Mars is a dad. He is the father of Romulus, so he is the father of the people. But crucially, he is also an agricultural god.
A war god who cares about farming. That seems like a contradiction.
Not to a Roman. Mars the Avenger, yes, but also Mars the protector of the fields. In the Roman mind, these two things, war and farming, were the same activity at different times of the year.
Also,
The campaigning season was in the summer. After planting and before harvesting, you fight to protect the land so you can farm it. You farm the land to feed the soldiers so they can fight. The ideal Roman citizen was a soldier farmer.
Cincinnatus.
Cincinnatus is the perfect example. Mars embodied that duality. Discipline, violence in service of growth.
And then, the wildest one, Janus. The two-faced god. He doesn't even exist in Greek mythology, right?
No Greek equivalent whatsoever. Janus is purely anciently Roman. He is the god of transitions, of beginnings and endings, of doorways and gates.
Hence the two faces.
He looks forward and backwards simultaneously, into the past and into the future.
And the gateway concept.
Mm.
He's the operator,
Mm.
the doorman for the gods.
The celestial janitor, if you want to be cheeky. But yes, theological protocol stated that you could not pray to Jupiter or Venus or anyone else without first invoking Janus. He held the keys.
Why?
Because every prayer is a transition. You are transitioning from the profane world to the sacred world. If you don't acknowledge the transition, if you don't go through the proper gate, the connection fails. You have to open the line before you can speak.
And his temple doors, the gates of Janus, functioned as a war barometer for the entire state.
A very simple one. Open in war, closed in peace. And this is the chilling statistic. In the first 700 years of Roman history, those gates were closed. Twice.
Twice. In 7 centuries.
Rome was a state of perpetual war. The transition was never finished. Peace was the exception, not the rule.
Let's move from the gods to the men who tried to emulate them. The heroes. This is section 6. Heroes and legends. In Greek myth, heroes are demigods. They have superpowers. They are often, frankly, whiny. They want glory. Achilles sits in his tent while his friends die because his feelings are hurt.
Right. Kleos, individual glory, was the Greek drug. It was all about your personal legend. But Roman heroes, they are regular guys.
They're citizens.
They don't have magic skin. They have virtus,
Yeah.
which doesn't just mean virtue. It means manliness, courage, duty. They are exemplar moral templates for the state. They are stories you tell your kids to show them how to be a good Roman.
I want to talk about Musa Scaevola because this story, I mean, if you want to understand Roman grit, this is it.
It's the ultimate example. The setting is 508 DC. The Republic is young and fragile. Rome is sieged by the Etruscan king Porsenna. The city is starving. A young aristocrat, Gaius Mucius, goes to the Senate and says, I'm going to fix this.
He volunteers to be an assassin.
He sneaks out, gets into the enemy camp. It's chaotic. It's payday for the soldiers. He sees a guy in fancy robes paying the troops, thinks that's the king, and stabs him.
Wrong guy.
He kills the scribe, the treasurer. He's immediately tackled, beaten, and dragged before the real king Porsenna. The king is furious. He threatens to burn Mucius alive if he doesn't reveal the Roman plans.
And this is the moment. This is the cinema.
There's a brazier of fire right there for a sacrifice or for warmth. Mucius looks the king in the eye and says, watch how little the body matters to those who see only glory. and he shoves his right hand into the fire.
And he doesn't scream. He doesn't make a sound.
He doesn't flinch, he just stands there while his hand burns. The meat cooks, the smoke fills the tent. The king is staring at this kid, absolutely horrified. Mucius just holds it there until the hand is destroyed.
The psychological warfare, it's a performance.
Completely. He then tells the king, "You can kill me. But there are 300 other Roman youths, just as crazy as I am, who have sworn an oath to take your life. I was just the first." He turns his failure into a threat.
That is terrifying. If I'm the king, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
I don't want to deal with 300 more of these guys.
And he did. Porcino was so impressed and so terrified by this display of fortitudo that he made peace and left. He couldn't fight people who didn't care about pain. That is the Roman hero. Not, I am strong, but I am willing to suffer more than you.
Then you have Cincinnatus. The flip side of that coin, Scaevola is about endurance in the face of defeat. Cincinnatus is about responsibility in the face of victory.
Cincinnatus is the favorite of George Washington and the American founders for a reason. He's a retired general, a former consul, living on a tiny farm, 3 acres. He's poor.
He's working the land himself.
Rome is in crisis. An army is trapped by an enemy tribe. The Senate sends a delegation to Cincinnatus. They find him plowing his field, covered in sweat and dirt. They tell him, "Rome needs you. We are naming you dictator."
And dictator didn't mean tyrant then. It was a specific legal office. Absolute power for 6 months to solve a crisis.
Yes, the power to kill without appeal. The ultimate authority. Cincinnatus wipes his hands, puts on his toga, goes to Rome. He organizes the legions, marches out, destroys the enemy, and saves the trapped army. He does it all in 16 days.
A stunning victory. So he's a hero. And then
He resigns. He has 5.5 months left of absolute power. He could have made himself king. The army would have followed him anywhere. Instead, he hands back the fasces, the symbols of power, and goes home to finish plowing his field.
that is the social glue of the Republic.
Yeah.
The idea that power is a burden to be carried, not a prize to be kept.
Exactly. Auctoritas authority comes from serving the whole, not yourself. And these stories were the bedrock of Roman education.
All of this, the gods, the heroes, it all relied on a system of maintenance. The rituals, we've talked about the contract, how did they actually pay the bill?
The machinery of the Pax Diorum. And it's so important to remember that there was no separation of church and state. It's a modern concept that would have been completely alien to them.
The priests were politicians.
And the politicians were priests. A general could also be an augur, reading the flight of birds before a battle. Julius Caesar was Pontifex Maximus, the high priest. It was all one system of control.
And at the very heart of this system, we have the Vestal Virgins. I feel like everyone has heard the name, but the reality of their lives was intense.
They were the guardians of the state's soul, the living heart of Rome. The Temple of Vesta held the eternal fire, supposedly brought from Troy by Aeneas.
And Rome believed that if that fire went out,
The Pax Diorum was broken and the city would fall. So these 6 women were arguably the most important human beings in the empire. Their job was everything.
and they had a monopoly on sacrifice, didn't they? I found this fascinating.
The moa salsa. This was a special mix of sacred flour ground from the first ears of the harvest and salt prepared by the Vestals.
And what was it for?
Every single public sacrifice in Rome, every cow, every sheep offered by a magistrate had to be sprinkled with this flour. That means, technically, no man could communicate with the gods without the Vestal's permission.
They were the bottleneck of divine grace.
An incredible source of power. Which is why they had such high status. They could pardon criminals just by walking past them. They could own property. They answered to no man.
They were sui juris, legally independent. In a society where every woman was the legal property of her father or husband, the Vestals belonged to no one but the goddess. But the price,
The price was immense. A 30-year term of service.
30 years.
Chosen as little girls, between 6 and 10. 10 years learning, 10 years performing the rites, 10 years teaching the novices. Total chastity. And if they slipped, if the fire went out due to negligence, or if they were found to be unchaste,
They weren't executed technically, which
Yeah.
is a horrible detail.
Rome couldn't spill the blood of a Vestal. It was a terrible omen, so they buried them alive.
How did they even do that?
They would dig a small underground room, put in a bed, a lamp, and a loaf of bread, just enough to say, we didn't starve her to death, and then they would wall her in and cover it with earth. They literally erased her from the surface of the world.
That is the ultimate expression of that Roman coldness again. The logic demands this.
It was a scapegoating mechanism. If Rome lost a battle, if there was a plague, Oh, if Vestal must have had sex. Find her, bury her, and the gods will be happy again. The safety of the state rested on the bodies of these 6 women.
Let's shrink the scale down. That's the empire. What about in the kitchen? What about the paterfamilias, the dad of a Roman family?
The household religion is where the heart was, I think. Every home was a temple. Every father was the priest of his own little cult.
And he had his own set of gods.
Yes, you had the Lares, the spirits of the benevolent ancestors watching over the family, usually kept in a little shrine called a lararium. You had the Penates, the gods of the pantry protecting the food supply.
To spiritual and physical well-being.
Exactly. And you had the genius.
The genius. We use that word to mean smart person today, but that's not what it was.
Not at all. In Rome, the genius was the divine spark, the virility, the life force of the male head of household. It was his procreative power. On his birthday, the family would offer sacrifices not to him, but to his genius.
You literally worshipped your father's genius.
That's an incredible concept.
It reinforces the power of the paterfamilias completely.
And I love the specific ritual for ghosts, the Lemuria. This feels so real and practical.
This is one of my favorites because it's so odd. It's a domestic exorcism. If a house was haunted by hungry ghosts, lemures, the malevolent dead, the father had to perform a ritual.
What did he have to do?
He'd get up at midnight. He has to be barefoot. He snaps his fingers to keep the silence at bay. Then he puts black beans in his mouth.
Black beans? Why black beans?
They were thought to contain soul stuff, life force. And he spits them out behind him without looking back. And as he does, he chants, "With these beans, I redeem me and mine." He does this 9 times.
And the idea is the ghosts go for the beans.
The belief was that the ghosts would scramble to eat the beans, which represented life, and leave the family alone. Then he'd bang bronze pots and yell, "Manes exe paterni, ghosts of my fathers, get out!" It's practical magic. It's pest control for the undead. Here's your payment, get off my lawn.
Precisely. Utterly pragmatic.
Eventually, though, you become the ghost. Section 8. Death and Afterlife. The Geography of Orcus.
The Roman afterlife evolved, much like their pantheon. It started vague, just witless shadows in the dust. But as they absorbed Greek culture, it became a place of judgment. It became structured.
The geography is so specific. You have the river Styx, you have Charon the ferryman.
And you had to pay him. That's why Romans were buried with a coin in their mouth. It was the fare.
What happened if you didn't have one?
No coin, no boat. You wait on the bank for 100 years, a wandering, unhappy shade.
And the other rivers. Lethe, the river of forgetfulness. Acheron, the river of woe. Phlegethon, the river of fire. It's a landscape of psychological states. It's a journey through grief and memory.
But the destination mattered. Elysium for the good, Tartarus for the wicked. This reflects the Roman obsession with law. Even in death, there is a court case. Your life is weighed. Justice is inescapable.
But the dead didn't stay in the underworld, did they? They were present in the house. The ancestors were part of the family.
Yes, through the imagines. This is a distinctively Roman tradition. When a prominent man died, they made a wax mask of his face, a death mask, a perfect likeness.
And they kept these.
These masks were kept in the atrium, the main hall of the family home, in little wooden shrines.
So you walk into a Roman house, and you are being stared at by 20 generations of your dead ancestors.
Realistically colored, staring at you, a constant reminder of your lineage. And at funerals, actors would wear these masks and the robes of office of those ancestors. They would sit in ivory chairs around the corpse.
Wow, so the dead were literally present.
It was a visual reminder. You are not an individual. You are part of a line. Do not let these people down. The pressure must have been immense.
That pressure. It explains so much about their drive and their concept of duty. Okay, so individuals die. What about the world? Did they have an apocalypse? A Ragnarok?
Not a final one. They didn't really believe in a final end. They believed in cycles.
The Siculum?
The Siculum is an age, right? Roughly the length of a human life, about 90 to 110 years. The Etruscans taught that every nation, every people, is allotted a specific number of secula. And once your time is up, the gods simply unplug the machine. Rome was always terrified that they were in their final seculum.
But on a cosmic scale, there's the Great Year, the Magnus Annus. And the notes here mention actual math.
This is where Stoic physics comes in. It's a beautiful, elegant concept.
Sure.
The great year is based on the idea that the planets and stars will eventually return to the exact same alignment they held at the moment of creation.
It's an astronomical cycle?
Mathematically, it's the lowest common multiple of all the planetary orbital periods.
So if Mars orbits in 2 years, and Jupiter in 12, they line up every 12 years. But if you add Saturn, Venus, Mercury, the Moon, the Sun, the number gets huge.
Thousands and thousands of years. But when that cosmic clock hits zero, ekpyrosis, the conflagration.
The Great Fire.
The Stoics believed a divine fire would consume the universe. Everything burns down to the primal element. Total reset.
And then, nothing.
Palingenesis. Rebirth. The fire reconstructs the universe exactly as it was. The planets start moving again. History repeats itself.
Exactly. So in the next great year, are we doing this deep dive again? Am I asking this exact question?
According to the strict Stoics, yes. I am sitting here saying these words and you are nodding. It's a deterministic loop. To us, that sounds like a prison. To a Roman Stoic, it was comforting. It meant the universe wasn't chaotic. It was a perfect, rational, repeating machine.
Let's look at the visuals of that machine, the symbols and secrets, because Rome was a city of signs.
Symbols were weapons. They were tools of psychological control. And we have to talk about the eagle, the aquila.
The standard of the legion.
It wasn't just a flag on a pole. It was a golden thunderbolt-bearing eagle, the avatar of Jupiter himself. The soldiers worshipped it. In camp, the eagle was kept in a shrine. It was the battery that held the legion's luck and its divine connection.
And losing it
was worse than death. It was the ultimate humiliation. If a legion lost its eagle, the unit might be disbanded in disgrace. Rome launched massive wars decades later just to go into the forests of Germany and recover lost eagles.
It wasn't about the gold.
It was about restoring the Pax Diorum, because without the eagle, the link to Jupiter was severed.
And the Fatties. We see this symbol everywhere today, on the Lincoln Memorial, on the wall of the U.S. House of Representatives. People might not even know what it is.
It's a bundle of birch rods tied together with a red leather strap surrounding an axe. And it's a brutal symbol. It's not abstract.
What does it mean?
The rods represent the power to scourge, to whip. Corporal punishment. The axe represents the power to behead. Capital punishment.
It's a justice kit.
It's a mobile kit for state violence. When the lictors, who were the bodyguards, walked in front of a consul carrying the fasces, the crowd parted. Not out of politeness, but out of fear. It was a constant, visible reminder that said, here comes the power of life and death.
And finally, we circle back to where we started. The secret name. The ultimate symbol. That is also an absence of a symbol.
It connects everything we've discussed. The anxiety, the legalism, the need for control. Rome had a secret soul, a hidden name, and the fact that 2,000 years later, historians still argue over what that secret name was.
We still don't know for sure.
We don't. Maybe it was Amor, Roma backwards. Maybe it was Herpina. Maybe it was the name of the tutelary deity. We don't know.
That means the security system worked.
It did. They kept the mystery intact. The evocatio was never performed on Rome successfully. The firewall held.
So Rome fell, the Western Empire at least.
There you go.
It did it. Section 11, legacy. The argument here is that the architecture of imperial divinity didn't die. It just moved house.
It transmuted. It changed its clothes. Think about the Western world today. What do we value? We value the rule of law. We believe that a written constitution is superior to the whim of a leader. That is a fundamentally Roman idea.
We have a Senate. We have vetoes.
Veto is Latin for I forbid. Every time a president vetoes a bill, he is channeling a Roman tribune. The calendar you use on your phone, that's the Julian calendar, tweaked by a pope. July is named for Julius Caesar. August is for Augustus.
We are literally living in Roman time.
We are. The foundations of our legal and political language are Latin.
And the religious absorption.
Yeah.
This is the big one. Christianity took over, but the shape of the container remained Roman.
Absolutely. Look at the administrative structure of the Catholic Church. The diocese structure, that's a Roman imperial administrative district. The robes the Pope and cardinals wear, Roman court dress.
And the Pope's title?
Pontifex Maximus, the supreme bridge builder. The exact same title held by Julius Caesar as head of the state religion. The church stepped into the power vacuum left by the empire and adopted its structure.
So the gods of empire stopped being Jupiter and Mars, but the structure, the hierarchy, the order, the ritualism, it survived.
The software was updated to Christianity, but the hardware is still distinctively Roman. The spiritual DNA is there.
So, closing reflection. We've gone through this whole system. What does this mean for the listener, for you sitting here today?
I think it challenges us to look at our own society. We like to think we are modern and rational and secular, but we surround ourselves with symbols of state power. We treat our constitutions like sacred texts. We have our own rituals of citizenship, our own oaths of office.
The Pax Diorum isn't dead.
No, we just call it law and order now, or national security. But the instinct is the same. If we follow the rules, if we honor the contract, we will be safe. We're still building walls and hoping the gods stay inside.
Are we still Romans in disguise? Are we still living inside that same architecture, just with different names for the gods? That is a thought that's going to keep me up tonight.
It should. It's a system we've inherited, whether we know it or not.
Thank you for taking us through the architecture. This was dense, but absolutely fascinating.
It's a pleasure to explore the machine.
And to everyone listening, if you want to keep exploring the hidden structures of the world with us, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and leave a review. It really helps us keep the fire burning.
Metaphorically, of course.
Metaphorically.
Uh-huh.
Stay curious, and we'll see you in the next deep dive.